Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. As you guys know, 2023 NBA free agency has been underway for a few days now, and there definitely has been some massive extensions, massive signings, such as LaMelo Ball signing a 5-year, $260 million contract to remain with the Charlotte Hornets, and the Pacers going on to extend a Tyrese Halliburton to a 5-year, $260 million contract. So LaMelo Ball and Tyrese Halliburton, it seemed like they had the same value on the market. So Bonus signed a massive deal as well. You could say shout out to Brook Lopez. Wasn't anything like massive compared to these guys, but he's getting up there in age. Still playing good ball. The Bucks brought him back. Chris Middleton was brought back, and just in general, there's these trade scenarios now where trade reports going on that James Harden's option went on to be picked up, and the 76ers are looking for a trade suitor. The Clippers are the leading suitor. Or you all obviously take a look at Damian Lillard has finally requested a trade. It's crazy. The day has finally happened, and his top team he wants to go to is the Miami Heat. The Trailblazers are in a position that we want to stay loyal to a guy and make him happy, but we also want to get back as much as possible. But one team that has really caught my eye this offseason, if it's in the draft or even free agency, I think they just look like a totally different team. I'm not saying they're going to make the play-in. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but they have a brand new head coach, and that's the Houston Rockets. The Rockets made a couple big splashes when it came to free agency, at least money wise. And, the Houston Rockets were the third worst team in the league last year. They slipped in the lottery to that fourth overall pick. But, top three in the lottery, they all have the same odds of getting that number one overall pick. But things can go on to happen. You could be the Pistons and drop to 5. But they had this fourth overall pick, which they selected Amen Thompson, the point guard from Overtime Elite. I'm going to be getting to good value of Cam Whitmore from Villanova with the 20th pick. Some people, or the reports were the reason he fell was the workouts didn't go up to par of his draft status. Some people had him going top 8 in the draft or like scouts, etc. And the interviews, some people weren't a big fan of him, or some teams weren't a fan of him, I guess, during the interview process. And the Rockets are like, this dude's just too talented. We can't keep on letting him slide. It's worth the risk if there is a risk with this kid of Cam Whitmore. But they finished with a 22-60 record. The only other teams that were worse were the San Antonio Spurs and the Detroit Pistons, and they literally were just such a raw team last year, and I just wasn't high on them. I feel a lot of fans and I believe executives around the league were like, yeah, this Rockets team's just going to be bad again. Since James Harden has departed, it's just been an absolute mess for the Houston Rockets. Obviously, they selected Jalen Green in the 2021 NBA draft with the second overall pick. He's a shooting guard that came off of a very solid year, averaging 21 points per game, but it comes down to his shot diet, his commitment on defense, or getting better as a defender, still improving as a passer out there on the floor, reading the floor, but obviously he's a freak athlete. He got snatchbacks. He found ways to get to the foul line, get in there 6 times per game. But the big story, Jabari Smith Jr., they took as well. And you go back to the Jalen Green draft, they selected Alperen Sengun, who's been a steal, in my opinion. I'm very high on Josh Christopher in that draft, Usman Garuba, but Josh Christopher and Usman Garuba are no longer members of the Houston Rockets. And I feel it starts with bringing in a new coach of Ime Udoka, who's a disciplined head coach, maybe not disciplined behind the scenes, what he was doing with the Celtics and over that and all that, but the Celtics are like, we need someone that's committed to the game but also focused and professional. So that's probably the way the Celtics looked at it when they let him go. Like, we don't care how good you are, you just don't do that behind the scenes. And when Steven Silas was there, they didn't have a veteran really that led the troops. There was no structure. They just weren't figuring out how to win games. It just felt like it was extremely sloppy every game. It felt when a star or solid player would go in there, it's like they're dropping 35 plus. There's no discipline on the defense side of the basketball, just bad habits, no structure. And I really felt he wasn't getting to the players of getting them committed. There was no identity. At least like the Thunder feels like they're heading in a direction, but when Steven Silas was there, it just did not feel like that at all. But I really believe Ime Udoka came in like, I don't care how young these guys are. I'm going to try to win, and I want to bring in a couple guys that can keep the rest of the roster grounded, the young players grounded, the year 2 and year 3 guys, and hopefully take them to another level. Let's establish a winning culture, no nonsense mentality. Jalen Green, you're not going to be jacking up shots. It's not going to look like an AAU team. Kenyon Martin Jr. that you went on to move for 2 second-round draft picks. I actually would have held on to him. I like him. Athletic body, gets after it on defense, but he went to the Clippers. I really am a fan of Amen Thompson, 6'7" guard, wiry, very twitchy with the ball in his hands. I just love the way he handles the basketball. He's very, very twitchy, very shifty. He can get to the basket, finishes with excellent touch. Probably the best athlete in this draft. He just has so much burst working downhill, utilizing screens. His manipulation skills are at an all-time high level. He's a very good facilitator, recognizes his guys cutting, a very unselfish player that Jalen Green's going to love to play with in transition. They're just going to be blurs in transition together, Jalen Green and Amen Thompson, when they're out there on the floor. And he has the ability to be a versatile defender at the next level. So when he enters the NBA, he may be the best rookie defender or one of the best rookie defenders. He's going to be one of the best distributors. He's going to be one of the best athletes. He's going to be able to get to the basket. But it comes down to he's a great leader, and he just controls the offense at a very high level, but it comes down to his jump shot. He's not afraid to take them, but can he get to at least a 34% three-point shooter in the league, which may not be like crazy average, but it would be an improvement for him. So it comes down to what's his upside as a three-point shooter. He's good mechanics. He's shown that he could pull up from mid-range, but I'm excited about him. Cam Whitmore, 20th pick. Good value there. You just take him at that point with the 20th overall pick. He's a good athlete. He's 6'7", but he's like a stronger, less lanky version of Thompson, like just physical profile wise. He could work downhill, finishes with a great amount of physicality. 34% three-point shooter. He made around 1 per game, attempting 4 or 5, and he's a good athlete. He's gonna fight for those boards, just like Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson's a triple-double threat, but he's gonna get after on both ends of the floor. I feel they got two dogs here that I really love. You need competitors, and I feel the Houston Rockets really got that, and that's what I thought of their free agency as. They got competitors. When we get into everything here, like I went through the draft, I like what they did there. Amen Thompson, 4th overall pick. You're hoping he's a high impact player for your ball club in whatever role it is, year one. But obviously everyone develops at a different time. But free agency comes in. The Rockets have the most money in free agency to open up. They have the most money, and they're not messing around. They're like, Kevin Porter Jr. is not a true point to us. We're not going to try to mess around with that experiment. Kevin Porter Jr. is a pure scorer. He's improved as a facilitator, but let's let him ISO. Let's let him get buckets, and let's have him come off the bench because we're bringing in Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, I think of as a professional, chip on his shoulder, undrafted player, former NBA champion. You could talk about the injuries with the Warriors, which were very unlucky. Klay Thompson, Durant going down in some very important games for them. But you're bringing in VanVleet that's going to keep these guys grounded. Say, Jalen Green, you're not taking this amount of shots this game. We're at least getting 4 passes in the offense before you take a shot. We're just not ISOing and just chucking up shots. So I'm not saying that's what Jalen Green does every possession, but they're going to be a lot more structured when they're under Udoka. VanVleet is contract, though. He's 30 years old. He signed a 3-year, $128 million deal, which is $42 million a year. So I feel they're paying him. The Rockets, they believe he's going to be one of the best players on their team from day one, be one of the top options. He's going to bring a winning attitude. He's going to be a leader. He may be one of the closers because Udoka might be like, we're trying to win games. We're not about tanking. We just brought in VanVleet. And what I like about VanVleet, he's 6'1", but he battles so hard defensively. Obviously, certain matchups, people are going to be able to shoot over him, but he's a very physical body that could pick your pocket. He averaged 7 assists per game, near 20-point per game score. The thing is, though, he did not shoot well from downtown last season, even though I do think that was an outlier season because he has shown that he does shoot the 3-ball well. And he's 30 years old, though, with a lot of miles on him. Nick Nurse likes to play his guys a lot. But he's a 37% three-point shooter for his career, but 40% from the overall field. So he's going to take some heat check shots. Not going to lie, his shot selection is very suspect at times. And the way he's going to be able to get his shots is Alperen Şengün's going to have to be setting a lot of screens for him to free himself up because he's not crazy athletic, doesn't have crazy bursts, he's not really tall. So that brings me to the next factor. I like that there's some mid-range shots with him. 3-point shots. He's fearless. Attempts like 9 threes per game. So he can utilize the screens right, slither, work downhill, get to the basket, but he's an inconsistency of finishing at the basket from 2-point range. That's where I think Jalen Green comes in. You have VanVleet that can shoot threes, but you have Green that could work downhill and has the ability to finish at the basket with his godly athleticism, has the snatchbacks. It comes down to him having a better shot diet, being more efficient, making the better play out there on the floor, don't dribble too long, and utilize your length a little more on defense. I feel he's the ability to be a better defender than he is, and Udoka is going to make him a better defender. I really believe that. Do I think there's a little too much money for VanVleet? Yes, but it's just the market. It's the reality of the market. And they're bringing in a winner. They're bringing in an absolute competitor that's going to set his teammates up for success or try his best. And who knows, maybe becomes a better 2-point finisher with the Rockets. It's like the Raptors, it's just weird. He's not going to be in a Raptors uniform anymore. But this is obviously different personnel than he's playing with in Toronto. So they signed Fred VanVleet. That's just a winning move. You sign Fred VanVleet to that money, or you just sign him in general, he's 30 years old. You're trying to win games. You're not messing around. So next up, this is the big move. And I feel like he's been the most hated player in basketball. He's extremely cocky. He's one of those players. He's not just confident. He is pure cockiness. He has something called Marcus Smart to me that I'm not going to call it a sickness. I don't know what to call it. He's very similar to Marcus Smart in a way that he's not the best player on the floor, but he's the mentality that he is the best player on the floor. He just feel like he could take on anyone. And the Grizzlies said they didn't want anything to do with him, or not anything to do with him. Like, at any cost, they weren't bringing him back. That's pretty much what they're saying over there. But the Rockets are like, we want a mentally tough player. We want to get this team extremely mentally tough. But I feel Dillon Brooks' hate got a little too wacky because of the LeBron thing. It's a lot of off of recency bias. See, I feel 4 years, $80 million, $20 million a year. It's kind of too much for Brooks. But he's not a scrub. Like, I know there's jokes of Shanghai Sharks and Guangdong Tigers and all that. But the reality is he's a very good defender. He's an all-defensive team type of defensive player. He's going to get in your head, especially if he's going up against the right matchup to get in that player's head. But the thing that concerns me, it's just a shot selection with this team. Udoka's going to have to rein in the shot selection from a Green. Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks has this amount of confidence that doesn't make sense with his game. That he'll attempt 7 threes per game, but he's only a 33% three-point shooter. He's had years that he shoots well from three, but it's just like so high volume, the amount of threes he takes. There's some shots that are just straight up not great shots. Doesn't have crazy wiggle. He'll use his strength and physicality, 6'7" guy to get to the basket. But he's the type of guy you hate to play against, but you'll love to have on your team, except maybe the only outlier is like, yeah, when you talk shit to LeBron, don't do that again, teammate. Like, don't do that again. So I don't love the contract, but when you're a bad team like the Rockets, you got to spend extra, and you're getting a defense player that's extremely competitive, that can shoot the three. His just shot selection isn't very good, and he is inconsistent, but he's going to snag rebounds. He's going to play extremely hard. And if they do flirt with the playoffs, he's going to be one of the reasons why. But, yeah, overall, when I take a look at it, Ahmed Thompson, does he start? Like, 4th overall pick, is Udoka going to be like, no, you're earning your spot, young buck. We brought in VanVleet. I understand you're a point guard. You're 6'7". You can play small forward too, but we're starting Dillon Brooks. As Dillon Brooks come off the bench, that should be fascinating. But Ahmed Thompson in general, he's going to be probably the twitchiest player to come off the bench in the league, or one of the twitchiest. He's one of the best athletes, high-flying athletes, one of the best defenders, facilitators. Does he win 6th man of the year as a rookie? Like, that would be very, very interesting to see if that happens. They brought in Jock Landale on a 4-year, $32 million contract, who is a center. So it's kind of competition for Şengün in practice, but Şengün is solidifying that center spot for the Rockets. And with a VanVleet, with a Brooks, with Green that likes to take a lot of shots, Jabari Smith Jr. is going to have to take his threes, pick and pop. I don't know if he'll ever be an awesome creator, but I do think he's a better three-point shooter than he showed last season. It got better towards the end. I do like his versatility on defense. For the 3rd overall pick, he's not going to wow you with crazy creation. Maybe he can get better. He's young, but I think he could continue to be a very good like plug-and-play player, or will become that. He just straight up looked like a rookie last year, tons of highs and lows. But I am a fan of Şengün. Like, I'm really high on Şengün, but again, going back to that, Green, Brooks, like all those shot distributions there, is that going to affect Şengün's development as an offensive player? Or will Udoka let Şengün shoot threes? You know, that was the big potential with him coming out of Turkey, 3rd best league in the world. He showed like a Dirk fade, a 3-point shot, but his drop step is deadly. His footwork in general, his pivot foot never moves. The manipulation with the ball when he's in the post, because he's an excellent passer. He reads the floor so well. Up to 9 rebounds per game. It comes down to his defense, though. Does he get better as a defender? Knows when to play strands of fundamental defense, but then sometimes he doesn't. He can get into foul trouble, 3 fouls per game. But I am a fan of Şengün. He went up when it came to his points. The hook shot, soft touch, nice tip-ins. I like Şengün. Jeff Green, I like that contract. He was just recently with the Nuggets. Has played for many NBA teams. He's been in the league since the Supersonics. Wherever he's gone, he's helped out the young guys, trying to build this winning culture wherever he goes. And I just love the way he communicated with the young guys in Denver, like a Christian Braun. And I think that could benefit players on the Houston Rockets. I really like that move, to hold them accountable. But this team looks kind of fun to watch. Are they going to win 37 games? Are they going to win 37? But I'm worried about the shot distribution, the shot selection on this team, the overall floor spacing. Jalen Green was an under 35% three-point shooter last year. Same with VanVleet. Same with Dillon Brooks. Same with Jabari Smith Jr. Hopefully he takes a leap, and Şengün's not shooting threes yet. But are you guys high on this Rockets team? Like when it comes to the future, do you like what they're doing, or you think they're handing out too much money and it was kind of unnecessary? Peace out, y'all.